There are places in this world, and indeed entire epochs of time, that seem to defy our established understanding. Moments in human history that shimmer with an almost ethereal quality, suggesting a grandeur, a sophistication, far beyond what our textbooks currently permit. Our conventional narrative tells a story of gradual ascent, a slow and steady climb from hunter-gatherer existence to the complex civilizations we recognize. But what if that story, comforting in its simplicity, is profoundly incomplete? What if the tapestry of human endeavor stretches back further, woven with threads of forgotten knowledge and lost ages? Could it be that the story of our species is not a simple line but a complex helix, spiraling through rises and falls, each ascent perhaps echoing a memory of what came before? These are not questions born of mere fantasy, but whispers emerging from the silent depths of our planet, from the most ancient myths, and from the quiet persistence of anomalous evidence. So, as the world outside fades, sit back, relax, and let us embark on a journey into the veiled epochs, challenging the very foundation of what we believe about the human story. For millennia, human history has largely been charted along a relatively straightforward path. We are told of small nomadic bands struggling for survival against the forces of nature, until around 12,000 years ago, a pivotal shift occurred. The last great ice age receded, the climate stabilized, and humanity began its celebrated journey towards settlement. This journey, as it is commonly understood, marked the dawn of agriculture, the painstaking development of tools, the gradual formation of villages, and eventually the emergence of the first complex societies in Mesopotamia and Egypt. It is a comforting narrative of linear progression, a testament to human ingenuity slowly, steadily building upon itself, moving ever forward, ever upward. This mainstream belief paints a picture of a consistent, upward curve of innovation, where each generation adds a small, incremental layer to the pyramid of knowledge, eventually culminating in the advanced world we inhabit today. According to this view, there was no preceding grand epoch, no lost golden age, only the slow, arduous march from primitive origins. Yet, there's a quiet hum beneath the surface of this neat narrative, a persistent resonance that suggests a different rhythm, a more intricate dance of time. The problem arises when we encounter evidence that seems to leap ahead, appearing almost fully formed, seemingly without the hundreds or even thousands of years of developmental precursors that the linear model would predict. Why do so many cultures across vastly separated geographies and independent of one another share striking myths of a sophisticated past, a golden age abruptly ended by cataclysm? These are not isolated tales, but recurring motifs, weaving through the oral traditions of indigenous peoples inscribed in ancient texts, and even hinted at in the very ground beneath our feet. Consider the sudden appearance of monumental architecture, the perplexing precision of early astronomical knowledge, or even the intricate social structures that seem to spring into existence without a clear preceding evolutionary path. These anomalies do not fit neatly into a timeline of gradual progression. They hint at a different pattern, one not of continuous ascent, but perhaps of cycles of advancement, followed by profound collapse and then a slow, arduous re-emergence. Could it be that what we perceive as the birth of civilization is merely a reawakening, a rediscovery of principles and knowledge lost during a previous darker age? This cyclical view of history, so often dismissed as mere myth, finds itself increasingly supported by a confluence of intriguing evidence, forcing us to reconsider the very nature of human progress. Some researchers now contend that our understanding of geological processes, primarily uniformitarianism, the idea that geological change happens gradually over vast periods, might be incomplete. What if the Earth's history isn't solely defined by slow, steady erosion and deposition, but punctuated by sudden, dramatic, and globally transformative events? There is a growing body of evidence, for instance, suggesting that colossal geological shifts, far grander than localized earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, have reshaped our planet in relatively short spans of time. These events, from rapid crustal displacements to sudden shifts in sea levels, could have utterly obliterated evidence of entire civilizations, burying them beneath layers of sediment, washing them into the oceans, or freezing them beneath expanding ice sheets. If such cataclysms were indeed responsible for wiping the slate clean, then our inability to find widespread evidence of a previous advanced culture would be not an absence of proof, but rather a testament to the sheer destructive power of these forgotten forces. Moreover, the enduring power of global flood myths offers another compelling facet to this alternate narrative. From the epic of Gilgamesh in ancient Mesopotamia to the biblical tale of Noah's Ark, from the Mayan Popol Vuh to the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, countless cultures share accounts of a primordial deluge that wiped out humanity, sparing only a select few. Mainstream archaeology often interprets these as localized events, perhaps exaggerated memories of regional river floods or tsunamis. But what if these pervasive narratives are not merely coincidentally similar, but rather collective echoes of a shared, cataclysmic trauma on a planetary scale? Could these ancient stories be veiled descriptions of a global catastrophe that not only reshaped the Earth's surface, but also plunged any preceding advanced civilization into an age of profound darkness, reducing its survivors to a struggle for mere existence, thus slowly forgetting the achievements of their ancestors? One of the most compelling alternative theories that could account for such a global catastrophe centers around the Younger Dryas impact theory. This hypothesis suggests that around 12,800 years ago, at the very moment the Earth was beginning to warm after the last ice age, our planet was struck by fragments of a colossal comet or asteroid. The proposed consequences are staggering: a sudden, dramatic cooling period that plunged vast regions back into glacial conditions, widespread wildfires that blanketed continents, an extinction event for numerous megafauna across North America, and potentially massive ice sheet destabilization and sea level rise. Imagine the sheer devastation such an event would wreak upon any existing civilization, no matter how advanced. Infrastructure destroyed, knowledge systems shattered, populations decimated. Survivors, scattered and traumatized, would be reduced to a hunter-gatherer existence, their primary focus on immediate survival. The memories of a glorious past fading into fragmented myths passed down through generations. Such an impact event could be the cosmic reset button, the great veil that obscures an entire epoch of human ingenuity from our current historical view. These converging lines of inquiry, the anomalies in our historical timeline, the geological hints of rapid transformative events, the widespread echoes of global floods and the scientific evidence for cosmic impacts, all gently prod us to ask a profound question. Are we, the inhabitants of this modern age, truly the first civilization to reach such a zenith of knowledge and technological capability? Or could it be that we are merely the latest inheritors of a very ancient, very grand legacy, a human story far longer and far more complex than we have dared to imagine? Could we be living in an age of rediscovery, slowly unveiling the profound achievements of those who came before us, only to be swallowed by time and forgotten? We have begun to peel back the layers of our planet's past, finding hints of grander stories beneath the surface, stories that challenge the comfortable narrative we've long held about our origins. But the most compelling whispers from these veiled epochs are often found not in abstract theories or ancient texts, but carved directly into the very stone of our world. These are the stones of forgotten giants, monuments so immense, so precisely crafted, that they defy our understanding of how they could ever have been built. Consider, for a moment, the ancient site of Baalbek in modern-day Lebanon. Here, amidst the ruins of later Roman temples, lie foundations that are impossibly massive, We speak of the trilithon, 3 colossal cut stones, each weighing an estimated 800 to 1,000 tons. Adjacent to them in a quarry lies the stone of the pregnant woman, an even larger megalith weighing over 1,200 tons. To put this into perspective, a single modern freight train car typically carries around 100 tons. These are stones of an almost unimaginable scale. The very sight of them humbles the observer, prompting a profound sense of wonder and indeed a profound question. The mainstream historical explanation attributes the construction of the Baalbek platform to the Romans. We know the Romans were masterful engineers, responsible for aqueducts, roads, and grand structures across their empire. It is widely believed that they employed vast legions of laborers, ramps, rollers, and animal power to meticulously place these gargantuan blocks. The precision of their later temples built atop these foundations certainly speaks to their advanced capabilities. But there is a problem, a significant enigma that surfaces when one truly contemplates the scale of these stones. No known Roman engineering feat comes close to moving masses of this magnitude. There is no historical record, no Roman blueprint, no engineering treatise describing how such stones, some 63 feet long and 14 feet thick, could have been extracted, transported miles from their quarry, and then lifted into position with such exactitude. The sheer logistical challenge, even for the mighty Roman Empire, seems insurmountable. How would they have created ramps sturdy enough to support a 1,000-ton block? Where is the evidence of the hundreds of thousands of laborers, the rollers, the levers, the complex machinery that would have been required? The absence of such evidence for a project of this unparalleled scale casts a long shadow of doubt over the conventional explanation. This absence compels us to consider other possibilities. Some researchers speculate that the Romans, known for adapting and building upon existing structures, merely inherited these titanic foundations from a much older, more advanced civilization. Perhaps a civilization that possessed a lost understanding of physics, a forgotten command over the properties of stone. Theories range from the use of ancient technologies that could generate immense force, perhaps involving a sophisticated application of acoustics or even levitation, to a profound, yet now unknown, mastery of quarrying and material science that allowed for effortless manipulation of stone. Could it be that they had methods of reducing the perceived weight of the stones, or tools that could cut and transport with a precision and power we are only beginning to reimagine today? This leads to the intriguing notion of a global precursor civilization, an epoch that precedes our accepted timeline, possessing a knowledge base far beyond our current understanding of the ancient world. If these stones were indeed placed by methods beyond our conventional historical narrative, what hidden chapters of engineering prowess might remain unread in the annals of our past? Moving far from the Lebanese plains into the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, we uncover another site that utterly redefines our understanding of early human capabilities. Göbekli Tepe. Buried beneath layers of earth for millennia, this complex of massive, intricately carved, T-shaped pillars stands as a breathtaking anomaly. Radiocarbon dating places its construction at around 9600 BCE, making it not just ancient, but startlingly so. It predates the invention of writing, metallurgy, and even agriculture by thousands of years. Here, enormous stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, are arranged in sophisticated circular enclosures, adorned with detailed carvings of animals, wild boars, foxes, snakes, and predatory birds. It is a monumental achievement, a complex of sacred architecture that seems to emerge from nothing. The mainstream archaeological theory suggests that Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers. The prevailing belief has long been that complex, organized societies capable of monumental construction only emerged after the development of agriculture, which provided the surplus resources and sedentary lifestyle necessary to support such grand endeavors. Hunter-gatherers, by definition, were nomadic, focused on daily survival, and lacked the social hierarchy and specialization of labor thought necessary for such a massive undertaking. But, like the stones of Baalbek, Göbekli Tepe presents a formidable challenge to this established paradigm. How could a society of nomadic hunter-gatherers, without permanent settlements, without domesticated animals, without advanced tools, conceptualize, organize, and execute a construction project of this magnitude? The sheer effort required to quarry, carve, transport, and erect these multi-ton pillars, not just once, but repeatedly across multiple circles, implies a level of communal organization, shared purpose, and engineering skill that simply does not fit the conventional understanding of a pre-agricultural society. The sophistication of the carvings, some depicting what appear to be constellations or astronomical alignments, hints at a knowledge base far beyond what we typically attribute to this era. It forces us to question the very foundation of how we believe civilization developed. Could it be that Göbekli Tepe is evidence of a much earlier, more organized, and perhaps even more intellectually advanced culture than we previously imagined existed at the dawn of human history? Some researchers propose that it was built by the last vestiges of a highly sophisticated culture that predated the Younger Dryas impact event, a catastrophic period that plunged the Earth into an ice age and may have wiped out vast swaths of advanced knowledge. Perhaps the builders were not simple hunter-gatherers, but survivors of a forgotten epoch, bringing with them a legacy of construction techniques and cosmological understanding. Theories suggest it might have been a repository of knowledge, built to safeguard wisdom as a great cataclysm approached, or perhaps a focal point for a spiritual practice that united disparate groups with a common, advanced purpose. If Göbekli Tepe was built by people who, by all accounts, should not have been capable of it, then what other hidden achievements of a deep past await our discovery, reshaping the entire timeline of human development? Our gaze then turns to the iconic Giza Plateau in Egypt, home to the Great Pyramids and, famously, the Great Sphinx. This colossal monolithic statue, carved from a single piece of limestone, has stood sentinel for millennia, its enigmatic gaze fixed on the horizon. For generations, Egyptologists have attributed the Sphinx to the pharaoh Khafra, dating its construction to around 2500 BCE, claiming it was carved directly from the bedrock during the construction of his nearby pyramid complex. Its weathered facade, scarred by the sands of time, is often cited as evidence of millennia of wind and sand erosion. But upon closer inspection, a different story begins to emerge, etched not by the wind, but by the very elements that shape our planet. Geologists, most notably Dr. Robert Schoch, have presented compelling evidence that the deep, vertical weathering patterns on the body of the Sphinx are inconsistent with wind and sand erosion, which typically create horizontal striations or abrasive pitting. Instead, these patterns bear all the hallmarks of extensive and prolonged exposure to rainfall. The last time the Giza Plateau experienced significant and sustained rainfall, capable of causing such severe water erosion, was during the end of the last ice age, an era that dates back to between 10,000 to 7,000 BCE. This geological but moment radically challenges the accepted timeline for the Sphinx's creation. If the primary erosion on the Sphinx is indeed water-based, it suggests that the monument predates dynastic Egypt by several millennia, pushing its age back into a period when, according to mainstream history, only rudimentary human societies existed. This implies the existence of a highly organized and technologically capable civilization far earlier than any recognized in the Nile. Valid alternative theories propose that the Sphinx was indeed carved by a sophisticated, unknown civilization that flourished during the earlier, wetter periods of Earth's history. Perhaps it was a civilization from the late Paleolithic or early Neolithic period, possessing the engineering prowess to carve such an immense monument from solid rock. A civilization that was subsequently lost to the mists of time or to the cataclysms of the Younger Dryas. Some speculate it may have been a monument of a lost culture that understood cyclical ages, perhaps even bearing witness to a dramatically different climate. Could it be that the Sphinx's gaze is not just towards the rising sun, but towards a forgotten past, a testament to an intelligence and skill that predates our earliest written records? What hidden date does this ancient guardian truly whisper about its creation, forcing us to re-evaluate the very dawn of monumental architecture? Beyond these individual titans of stone, a recurring pattern of impossible precision stonework emerges across various ancient sites worldwide. From the polygonal masonry of Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo in Peru, where multi-ton blocks fit together with microscopic accuracy, defying the insertion of even a razor blade, to the vitrified forts of Scotland, whose stone walls appear to have been melted and fused by intense heat, we encounter phenomena that challenge our understanding of ancient building techniques. These walls often showcase irregular, interlocking shapes cut with such exactitude that they withstand earthquakes and millennia of exposure, revealing no mortar, only perfect interfaces. The sheer effort of achieving such precision with simple copper or bronze tools, coupled with the logistics of moving stones weighing hundreds of tons, seems to defy the known capabilities of the cultures credited with their construction. The conventional explanation posits that these feats were achieved through immense human labor, rudimentary tools, and an almost inconceivable amount of time and patience. It is often suggested that the ancient builders used simple pounding stones to shape the granite and diorite, and that trial and error, coupled with sheer force of will, allowed them to achieve such intricate results. For the vitrified forts, natural phenomena or intense localized fires are sometimes suggested as the cause of the melted stone. But the sheer scale of the challenge presented by this precision, often at a microscopic level, poses a profound but to these explanations. How could such flawlessly tight joints be achieved without advanced measuring devices, without power tools, and often on stones of incredible hardness? The angles of cuts are sometimes so complex, following the contours of adjacent blocks, that it seems to require a level of three-dimensional engineering thought far beyond the capabilities attributed to these civilizations. Furthermore, the vitrified forts suggest a mastery over temperatures exceeding 1000 degrees Celsius, a level of heat generation and control that seems out of place in the Iron Age. The clean, almost surgical cuts seen on some megalithic sites appear to contradict the crude marks left by primitive stone tools. This leads to a fascinating array of alternative theories. Some researchers suggest the existence of forgotten ancient technologies, perhaps involving sophisticated saws that could cut through hard rock with ease, or even methods that could temporarily soften stone for shaping. Others speculate about a profound understanding of harmonics and vibrations, allowing stones to be manipulated or cut with energy rather than brute force. Could there have been a lost global precursor civilization that possessed this shared, advanced knowledge, leaving its signature of impossibly precise stonework on different continents? Perhaps they utilized a form of ancient laser technology, or a forgotten method of electromagnetic levitation, making the manipulation of massive blocks a relatively simple task. The consistency of this precision, appearing in different cultures yet sharing common characteristics, hints at a common source of knowledge, a lost architectural language shared across an ancient world. If these megalithic marvels, from Baalbek's impossible foundations to Göbekli Tepe's enigmatic pillars, from the water-eroded Sphinx to the interlocking stones of Peru, were indeed built by methods beyond our conventional historical understanding, what hidden chapters of engineering prowess remain unread in the grand story of human history? What does the silent testimony of these stones tell us about the true capabilities of an earlier civilization? A civilization that could manipulate the very fabric of the earth with a mastery we are only beginning to comprehend. If the massive stones of forgotten giants invite us to question the very foundations of ancient engineering, then the smaller, more intimate whispers from the deep past compel us to look even closer. These are not grand temples or city ruins, but objects, often small, often unassuming, yet each one a profound puzzle. They are items found in geological strata where they simply shouldn't exist, or possessing a sophistication that defies their accepted historical context. These are the out-of-place artifacts, or ooparts, and they challenge our carefully constructed timeline of human ingenuity. Consider for a moment the Antikythera mechanism. Unearthed from an ancient Roman shipwreck off the coast of Greece in 1901, this corroded bronze device initially appeared to be little more than a collection of gears and plates. But as researchers painstakingly cleaned and analyzed it, its true nature began to emerge. What they found was an astonishingly complex astronomical calculator, a device of intricate clockwork precision, capable of predicting eclipses, planetary movements, and even the dates of ancient Olympic Games. Its sophistication was breathtaking, an analog computer from a time when we believed such engineering was centuries, if not millennia, away. The mainstream theory suggests that the Antikythera mechanism was an isolated stroke of genius, perhaps the work of a single brilliant Greek inventor like Archimedes or Hipparchus, or at least the product of a small, highly advanced school of thought. It is seen as a singular anomaly, a testament to what a few extraordinary minds could achieve, even within a supposedly simpler technological framework. But there's a problem with this explanation. The Antikythera mechanism's complexity rivals that of 18th century European clockwork, centuries before its documented appearance. Its internal workings feature differential gearing, a mechanism not seen again in the archaeological record for over 1,000 years. If this was merely the isolated genius of one or two individuals, where are the precursors? Where are the simpler versions, the evolutionary steps that should lead to such a magnificent device? It seems to burst fully formed into the historical record, without any apparent lineage. This absence compels some researchers to explore alternative theories. Could the Antikythera mechanism be a relic from a forgotten advanced knowledge, a technology not unique, but part of a wider, though now lost, tradition of sophisticated engineering? Some propose it was a copy or an adaptation of an even older device from a preceding, more technologically adept civilization. What if the Hellenistic Greeks, far from inventing this technology, were merely rediscovering or inheriting fragments of an earlier scientific understanding? Others speculate on the existence of ancient global trade networks that might have facilitated the exchange of advanced ideas or even finished instruments from unknown sources. Perhaps this device is not a one-off, but simply the only one we've found so far, hinting at a broader, sophisticated intellectual landscape lost to time. If a device of such unparalleled complexity could simply appear, without any known developmental lineage, then what other wonders of ancient technology might still lie hidden beneath the waves or buried in the earth? Then there is the perplexing case of the Baghdad Battery. Discovered in the 1930s during excavations near Baghdad, this artifact consists of a small clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. It dates back to the Parthian era, roughly between 250 BCE and 224 CE. For decades, its purpose was debated. The mainstream theory often dismisses the Baghdad Battery as either a container for scrolls or perhaps a vessel for storing spices or other mundane items. If it did possess rudimentary galvanic properties, it's argued that this was purely coincidental and not intentional, and certainly not harnessed for any practical purpose that we would recognize as electrical. The idea of ancient electricity, after all, simply doesn't fit the established narrative, but there's a problem with this explanation. Analysis of similar objects found since, and the presence of corrosion suggesting an acidic agent, points away from a simple storage jar. Experiments have successfully demonstrated that when filled with an electrolyte like grape juice or vinegar, these devices generate a small but measurable electrical current. Further archaeological evidence from the region, including discoveries of objects bearing traces of electroplating, a process that requires electricity, adds another layer of intrigue. These findings open the door to alternative theories. Could the Baghdad battery be tangible proof of an ancient, rudimentary understanding of electricity, a knowledge entirely lost to us? Some researchers believe these batteries were used for electroplating precious metals onto other objects, creating an illusion of solid gold or silver. Others speculate they might have been employed in ancient rituals, perhaps to provide a mild electric shock, creating an awe-inspiring effect in religious ceremonies, or even for rudimentary medicinal purposes, a form of ancient acupuncture or pain relief. What if these were not just isolated curiosities, but fragments of a broader forgotten technological application, perhaps linked to a sophisticated understanding of metallurgy or even an early form of scientific inquiry? If such devices indeed generated electricity, what purpose did it serve in a world we believe had no understanding of such forces, and what else might they have powered or enabled? Our journey into the past reveals even more profound geographical enigmas captured in what appear to be ancient maps. Perhaps one of the most famous is the Piri Reis map, compiled in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. While its known history places it firmly in the Renaissance era, what it depicts, and how accurately, challenges our understanding of 16th century and even much earlier exploration. The map shows the coastlines of West Africa, South America, and, most controversially, a depiction of Antarctica centuries before its official discovery. More astonishingly, this Antarctic coastline appears free of ice. The mainstream explanation acknowledges the Piri Reis map as a valuable historical artifact, a compilation of existing maps and charts available to the admiral. Its depiction of Antarctica is often attributed to speculative geography, or perhaps the inclusion of fragmented, inaccurate knowledge from lost Greek or Roman sources, with any perceived accuracy being largely coincidental or exaggerated by modern interpretation. The ice-free coast is typically dismissed as a mistake or an artistic license reflecting earlier, less accurate cartography. But there's a problem with this explanation. The precision of certain sections of the Piri Reis map, particularly the South American coastline, is remarkably accurate for its time. More significantly, the rendering of an ice-free Antarctic coastline presents a profound challenge. Antarctica was not officially discovered until the 19th century, and the last time its coastlines would have been largely free of ice was potentially thousands of years ago, a period long before any known civilization with the presumed capacity for global mapping. How could 16th century sources, or even ancient Mediterranean ones, possess knowledge of a continent and its topography that wouldn't be charted by modern means until millennia later? This discrepancy fuels a range of alternative theories. Some researchers suggest the Piri Reis map must have been derived from much older source maps, perhaps originating from a pre-cataclysmic civilization that possessed advanced geographical and cartographic technology. Could these original maps have been created during a period when Antarctica was indeed ice-free, and somehow preserved and passed down through generations, eventually finding their way into Piri Reis's hands? Others propose that a lost global civilization, with the means to circumnavigate and accurately chart the entire planet, once existed, and these maps are merely fragments of their vast knowledge, passed down through hidden channels or rediscovered by chance. What if this map is not a fantasy but a true echo from a time before our recorded history, a time when the world was charted by unknown hands, who possessed the geographical knowledge and the technology to map a continent in such detail, millennia before its modern discovery? And what does this imply about the true scope of ancient exploration and understanding? Moving from the relatively recent past into the deep abyss of geological time, we encounter an even more bewildering class of objects, the Klerksdorp spheres. Discovered by miners in a pyrophyllite mine near Klerksdorp, South Africa, these small, metallic or fibrous objects are found embedded in rock formations estimated to be around 2.8 billion years old. What makes them extraordinary is their often perfect spherical shape, some with distinct parallel grooves running around their equator. They look to the casual observer uncannily like manufactured objects. The mainstream scientific explanation classifies the Klerksdorp spheres as natural concretions. Concretions are masses of mineral matter that form within sedimentary rock, often acquiring spherical or ovoid shapes through geological processes over vast periods of time. The grooves, it is argued, are simply the result of natural geological layering or erosion patterns, and any perceived regularity is merely a trick of perception or a rare but entirely natural occurrence. After all, at 2.8 billion years old, these formations predate any known complex life, let alone intelligent life capable of manufacturing such objects. But there's a problem with this explanation. While natural concretions can indeed form spheres, the consistent perfection of the Klerksdorp spheres, coupled with the distinct, often triple, parallel grooves that appear on many of them, strikes some observers as too regular, too intentional for purely random geological forces. Some specimens even exhibit an internal structure consisting of a fibrous center surrounded by a shell. While geological processes can create impressive symmetries, the specific characteristics of these spheres seem to push the boundaries of what is typically considered natural. This visual and structural anomaly prompts alternative theories, especially from those who question the conventional timeline of life on Earth. Could the Klerksdorp spheres be artifacts from an unimaginably ancient, pre-human intelligent civilization, one that existed billions of years ago? Perhaps they are the remnants of a form of life or technology so alien to our understanding that we struggle to categorize it. Some radical ideas even suggest they could be evidence of geological processes mimicking intelligent design in an uncanny way, or perhaps even a form of pre-biological self-assembly that resulted in such precise forms, challenging our very definitions of natural versus manufactured. How do perfectly shaped, grooved metallic spheres come into being within rock formations dating back billions of years, challenging our understanding of life's emergence and the very concept of artifact? Beyond these distinct objects, there's a broader category of out-of-place artifacts that speaks to advanced knowledge, examples of advanced metallurgy. Throughout ancient history, we find instances of metals and alloys created with properties that seem far ahead of their supposed time. From the legendary strength and sharpness of Damascus steel, a technique lost for centuries, to the sophisticated gold alloys and precision craftsmanship of artifacts found in pre-Columbian South America, these items demonstrate a mastery of materials science that puzzles modern experts. Techniques for creating alloys that resist corrosion, achieve extreme hardness, or display intricate details often appear suddenly without a clear developmental lineage, only to vanish again from the historical record. The mainstream explanation attributes these metallurgical marvels to isolated instances of genius, lucky accidents, or highly specialized craftsmanship practiced by a very small group of artisans whose knowledge was eventually lost due to war, disease, or cultural shifts. It is believed that these were empirical discoveries made through trial and error, rather than based on a deep theoretical understanding of material science as we know it today. But there's a problem with this explanation. The consistency of certain advanced metallurgical knowledge in disparate cultures, often separated by vast geographical distances and millennia, suggests something more than mere coincidence or isolated invention. The precise control over temperatures, impurities, and alloying elements required to achieve these properties points to a level of understanding that goes beyond simple empiricism. It suggests a codified scientific approach to material processing, not merely lucky happenstance. These instances compel some researchers to explore alternative theories. Could these examples of advanced metallurgy be relics of a global understanding of materials science, perhaps originating from a lost civilization with a profound grasp of physics and chemistry? Some propose that a form of ancient alchemy, far from being mystical quackery, was a genuine scientific discipline, a lost branch of chemistry that allowed for sophisticated manipulation of elements. Others suggest a connection to forgotten ancient technologies that might have provided the high temperatures or precise control needed for such advanced metalworking, a form of technological inheritance that occasionally surfaces in the archaeological record. Were these isolated flashes of genius, or echoes of a once pervasive, sophisticated understanding of materials science that was almost entirely forgotten, leaving us with tantalizing yet baffling fragments? These out-of-place artifacts, the Antikythera mechanism, the Baghdad battery, the Piri-Reis map, the Klerksdorp spheres, and countless other examples of advanced metallurgy, each tell their own story. But together they pose a more profound question. Are these truly isolated anomalies, scattered coincidences across the vast expanse of time? Or are they fragments of a grander lost technological zenith, pieces of a forgotten puzzle that once assembled could redefine the entire narrative of human history? Perhaps these whispers from the deep past are not just oddities, but crucial clues to an advanced civilization that once existed. Before us, we have looked at the remnants on land, the impossibly massive structures, and the small, intricate artifacts that whisper of forgotten technologies. But perhaps the most profound secrets, the most compelling proof of an advanced civilization before us, lie not beneath the desert sands or within mountain ranges, but in the silent, swirling depths of our world's oceans. For here, beneath the waves, lie not just natural formations, but what appear to be the drowned echoes of monumental works and the geological scars of global cataclysms, forcing us to re-examine the very nature of our planet's past. Consider, for a moment, the enigmatic site of Yonaguni, off the coast of Japan. Here, divers have encountered an utterly baffling underwater structure, often referred to as the Yonaguni Monument. It is a colossal, impossibly geometric formation, rising from the seabed with features that appear strikingly artificial. Vast, flat terraces, sharp 90-degree angles, straight pathways, and what some interpret as grand staircases carved into the rock. It spans an area the size of several football fields, its sheer scale adding to its mysterious presence. Submerged for thousands of years, this structure presents a silent, imposing testament to what some believe is an ancient, advanced hand at work. For many years, the conventional explanation for Yonaguni has been that it is a purely natural phenomenon. Geologists often point to natural geological processes such as tectonic activity, earthquakes, and the columnar jointing of sandstone as the primary sculptors of these seemingly artificial features. They suggest that the regular patterns and sharp edges are merely the result of natural erosion along bedding planes and fault lines, creating the illusion of design. The powerful currents and unique geological composition of the region, it is argued, have simply weathered the rock into shapes that, to the human eye, appear to be meticulously crafted. The mainstream view maintains that while intriguing, Yonaguni remains a testament to nature's artistry, not humanity's. But when one descends into the azure waters and observes Yonaguni firsthand, or reviews the extensive photographic and sonar evidence, the but moment becomes undeniable. The sheer precision of the angles, the seemingly perfect right angles, and the almost too regular terraces challenge the notion of purely natural formation. How could nature carve perfectly straight lines and uniform steps across such a vast area? Some formations appear to be carved with symbolic representations, including what some interpret as a giant turtle or a human-like face, features that seem unlikely to arise from random geological forces. The site also exhibits what appear to be drainage channels and carved recesses, features that speak to intelligent design rather than geological coincidence. Furthermore, the argument for columnar jointing falls short when faced with the consistent horizontal layering and the distinct lack of typical jointing patterns elsewhere at the site. The weight of visual evidence, for many, points away from mere chance and towards something far more deliberate. Could it be that Yonaguni is, in fact the remains of an ancient city, a forgotten ceremonial center or a quarry, submerged by the dramatic sea level rises that occurred at the end of the last ice age. Some researchers believe it could date back as far as 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, placing it firmly in a period when established history asserts humanity was living in nomadic hunter-gatherer societies, utterly incapable of such monumental construction. Theories range from it being a relic of a lost Pacific civilization, perhaps even a smaller outpost of a mythical lost continent, to evidence of an unknown, sophisticated culture in Southeast Asia that predates all known complex societies. What if the structures were built when the land was still above water, and then slowly claimed by the rising tides? Such a scenario would radically shift our understanding of early human capabilities and the global distribution of advanced cultures if the structures of Yonaguni were indeed fashioned by intelligent hands thousands of years ago. When our understanding of history tells us such feats were impossible, then what other secrets lie buried beneath the ocean's surface? Hidden witnesses to a forgotten age swallowed by the waves. Further west, off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas, another peculiar formation stretches for hundreds of meters along the seabed. Known as the Bimini Road, or sometimes the Bimini Wall, it consists of remarkably uniform, rectangular, and polygonal limestone blocks laid out in a strikingly straight line beneath shallow, clear waters. It appears almost like a paved pathway or a colossal wall stretching in an unbroken curve for almost half a mile. Its distinct shape and organized appearance have captivated divers and researchers since its discovery in the late 1960s, prompting deep questions about its origin. The mainstream explanation for the Bimini Road, much like Yonaguni, is primarily geological. Experts suggest that these perfectly shaped blocks are naturally occurring beach rock, a type of sandstone that forms in the intertidal zone. Over time, erosion, wave action, and the unique chemical properties of the environment can break this beach rock into linear patterns, creating the illusion of an artificial structure. The argument is that the natural fracturing patterns in the rock, coupled with the consistent force of ocean currents, would eventually carve out these remarkably regular shapes, aligning them in a way that deceives the eye into seeing human craftsmanship where none exists. It is presented as a compelling example of pareidolia, where the human mind imposes familiar patterns onto natural randomness. However, the but moment arises when one considers the intricate details and the sheer consistency of the Bimini Road. While beach rock does exist and can fracture the sheer uniformity of the Bimini blocks, some weighing several tons, and their precise arrangement appear to defy purely natural explanation. Many blocks seem to be intentionally fitted together, almost like paving stones, creating a flat, level surface that extends continuously for vast distances. Some blocks even show what appear to be signs of cutting and shaping, with distinct edges that are too sharp and regular to be the sole product of erosion. Furthermore, the depth at which the road is found, significantly below present-day sea level, suggests it was submerged thousands of years ago, before humanity, according to the conventional narrative, possessed the means for such elaborate engineering. Alternative theories suggest that the Bimini Road is, in fact, the remains of an ancient harbour wall, a ceremonial procession way, or perhaps even a component of a larger, now submerged architectural complex. Some researchers propose it could be a remnant of a lost civilization, possibly linked to the legendary Atlantis, a concept popularized by the prophecies of Edgar Cayce, which spoke of structures rising from the Bimini area. Others theorize it was an astronomically aligned calendar or observation platform. What if this uniform structure, so unlike other natural beach rock formations, was indeed constructed by an unknown people who understood engineering and monumental building far earlier than we currently acknowledge? The precision and deliberate appearance of the Bimini Road continue to fuel speculation, keeping the mystery alive beneath the clear Caribbean waters. Is the Bimini Road merely a geological trick of light and shadow, a natural curiosity, Or does it serve as a haunting echo of a sophisticated structure, a fragment of a lost world now claimed by the depths? Moving further across the globe, to the waters off the western coast of India, near the city of Dwarka, ancient legends speak of a magnificent golden city, a divine metropolis founded by the deity Krishna, which was eventually swallowed by the sea. For centuries, this remained a captivating myth, a story of grand palaces and bustling life lost to the ocean's embrace. Yet, in recent decades, archaeological expeditions in the Gulf of Cambay have begun to uncover evidence that dramatically challenges the line between myth and reality. Divers and sonar scans have revealed extensive underwater ruins with geometric layouts, precise alignments, and structures that appear to be man-made, extending over a considerable area. Artifacts recovered from these submerged ruins, including pottery shards, beads, and even what some interpret as sculptures, have been dated through thermoluminescence and carbon dating to a startling age, approximately 7,500 to 9,000 years old. The mainstream interpretation of these discoveries in the Gulf of Cambay acknowledges the presence of ancient underwater activity, but often downplays its significance as a full-fledged advanced city. While accepting the antiquity of some artifacts and evidence of human presence, conventional archaeology tends to interpret the findings as localized settlements, perhaps a series of ancient port towns or scattered ritual sites, rather than a single, grand, highly organized urban center on the scale described in the Mahabharata and other ancient texts. The dating, while intriguing, is sometimes viewed with caution, and the geometric patterns are occasionally attributed to natural features or less sophisticated planning than what a true advanced civilization would imply. The prevailing view is that while the sea holds ancient secrets, they may not necessarily conform to the grand mythical narratives, but the but moment arises with the persistent and compelling nature of the evidence. The consistent dating of numerous artifacts across various expeditions, coupled with the coherent, grid-like patterns observed through sonar imaging, strongly suggests an organized settlement. The sheer extent of the submerged area, with indications of streets, foundations, and robust buildings, pushes beyond the idea of mere scattered encampments. Furthermore, the remarkably close correlation between these archaeological discoveries and the ancient Indian texts, which vividly describe Dwarka as a powerful, wealthy, and technologically advanced city eventually submerged by the ocean, cannot be easily dismissed as mere coincidence. What if these ancient stories were not simply fanciful tales, but accurate historical accounts passed down through generations, describing a city that truly existed? The evidence from Dwarka suggests an urban center, flourishing thousands of years before the accepted timeline for the emergence of complex cities in the Indian subcontinent and, indeed, much of the world. Alternative theories propose that the submerged Dwarka is indeed the physical manifestation of the legendary city, demonstrating that advanced urban planning and construction existed in ancient India at a time when historical narratives place humanity in a far more primitive state. This would suggest a civilization with sophisticated architectural and engineering capabilities, perhaps an understanding of maritime trade and urban infrastructure that has been completely forgotten by mainstream history. Could it be that a sudden, dramatic rise in sea levels, perhaps linked to a wider global cataclysm, rapidly engulfed this thriving metropolis, preserving it as a testament to a lost epoch? The questions raised by Dwarka challenge us to reconsider the accuracy of ancient myths and the true timeline of human development. If the legends of a lost golden city like Dwarka are indeed rooted in a submerged reality, how many other ancient myths might hold fragments of truth about forgotten ages and advanced cultures, silently waiting in the silent depths to be rediscovered? These submerged cities and structures hint at cataclysms that fundamentally reshaped our world. And perhaps the most compelling evidence for such a global catastrophe, one that could have wiped away traces of a previous advanced civilization, lies in what is known as the Younger Dryas impact theory. Around 12,800 years ago, as the Earth was steadily warming out of the last ice age, something dramatic happened. Temperatures suddenly plummeted again, plunging the northern hemisphere back into glacial conditions for over 1,000 years. This abrupt cooling event coincided with the extinction of much of the planet's megafauna and a profound shift in human cultures. Scientists have discovered a widespread geological layer, often called the black mat, across continents, containing extraordinary markers, nanodiamonds, microscopic spheres of iron and silica, and elevated levels of platinum, iridium, and other exotic elements. For decades, the mainstream scientific explanation for the Younger Dryas event focused on terrestrial causes. The dominant theory suggested that a massive outburst of fresh water, perhaps from a glacial lake like Lake Agassiz, poured into the North Atlantic Ocean. This sudden influx of fresh, less dense water was believed to have disrupted the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, essentially shutting down the ocean conveyor belt that transports warm water to the northern latitudes. This disruption, it was argued, led to the sudden, severe cooling observed in the geological record. It was seen as a powerful, but ultimately localized climate oscillation, a natural blip in the Earth's long-term climatic patterns. But the but moment for this explanation has grown increasingly persuasive with new discoveries. The sheer abruptness of the cooling event, occurring almost instantaneously on a geological timescale, is difficult to explain solely by a freshwater flood. More significantly, the consistent discovery of the black mat layer across North America, Europe and parts of Asia, containing the very specific and rare impact markers, nanodiamonds formed under extreme pressure, melted microspherules, and platinum anomalies, points to something far more violent and global than a mere oceanic circulation change. These markers are virtually identical to those found at known cosmic impact sites. Furthermore, the Younger Dryas event coincided with the sudden extinction of roughly 35 genera of North American megafauna, including mammoths, mastodons, and saber-toothed cats, as well as the abrupt disappearance of the advanced Clovis culture in North America. The synchronous nature of these climatic, biological, and cultural shifts strongly suggests a single, cataclysmic trigger. Alternative theories propose a truly devastating cosmic impact event. It is suggested that a comet or a fragmented asteroid struck the Earth or exploded in the atmosphere around 12,800 years ago. This celestial impact would have triggered widespread wildfires, generating immense amounts of soot and dust that blocked out the sun, leading to a Younger Dryas impact winter. It would have caused rapid melting of ice sheets, leading to sudden dramatic sea level rises and potentially triggering mega tsunamis that inundated vast coastal areas. Such an event would explain not only the abrupt cooling and the extinctions, but also the impact markers and the widespread disruption of advanced human cultures of the time. What if this cataclysm was so profound that it utterly obliterated or drastically reset a globally interconnected, advanced civilization that had flourished during the previous interglacial period, leaving only scattered survivors to rebuild from a primitive state, their knowledge lost to the dust and deluge? If a cosmic impact truly plunged the world into an ice age, obliterating life and advanced culture across continents, what other evidence of this forgotten cataclysm lies buried, waiting to rewrite the story of our planet and its ancient inhabitants? And how many secrets now lie in the silent depths, hidden witnesses to a forgotten age, swallowed by the oceans, waiting to reveal their grand yet tragic tale. We have journeyed through colossal stones and puzzling artifacts, explored submerged cities, and touched upon evidence of forgotten cataclysms that reshaped our world. These physical remnants, often found in the most unlikely of places, whisper of a past far more complex than our accepted histories allow. But the whispers do not only come from the silent depths or the weathered stone. Sometimes the past speaks to us through more intangible echoes, through the ancient texts, the sacred traditions, and the seemingly impossible knowledge preserved in the very fabric of early civilizations across the globe, enigmatic scrolls and venerable oral histories describe phenomena that seem utterly out of place for their supposed eras. From the detailed accounts of flying machines and advanced weaponry found in ancient Sanskrit texts, to the bewildering precision of astronomical alignments embedded in prehistoric structures, and even tantalizing hints of unexplained energy sources, we find ourselves confronted with a profound intellectual anomaly. How could civilizations believed to be using rudimentary tools and understanding possess such profound and specific knowledge? Take, for instance, the ancient Indian subcontinent. Within the vast body of Sanskrit literature, particularly texts like the Vaimanika Shastra, we encounter astonishing descriptions of aerial vehicles known as vimanas. These aren't merely mythological birds or fantastical chariots pulled by gods. The texts contain incredibly detailed schematics and instructions for their construction, propulsion, and even operation. Some passages describe propulsion systems that seem to harness unknown forces, pilot manuals for maneuvers in the air and beyond, and even the use of various metals and compounds for their unique properties. Similarly, other ancient writings across various cultures hint at sophisticated understandings of physics, metallurgy, and even the nature of the cosmos itself, far exceeding what conventional archaeology attributes to them. Beyond the written word, we see this anomaly carved into the landscape. The alignment of the Giza pyramids with specific stars, the intricate calendar systems of the Maya that track celestial movements with incredible accuracy, or the precise orientation of countless megalithic sites towards solstices and equinoxes across disparate cultures. These are not simple observations. They represent a deep, codified astronomical knowledge that seems to require advanced mathematical understanding and centuries of meticulous, consistent data collection. Then there are the persistent global legends of unseen energies, of structures that hummed with power, or devices that drew strength from the air itself. These fleeting illusions, often dismissed as folklore, hint at a different kind of technological understanding. The mainstream historical perspective tends to categorize these accounts as mere mythology, allegorical tales designed to entertain or impart moral lessons. The Vimanas, for example, are often dismissed as fanciful exaggerations, the product of vivid imaginations, or symbolic representations of spiritual journeys rather than literal flying machines. Astronomical alignments in ancient temples or observatories, if acknowledged, are frequently attributed to simple celestial observations for agricultural purposes, or dismissed as coincidental. Any suggestion of advanced physics or energy concepts is typically brushed aside as misinterpretations or the projection of modern scientific understanding onto simpler ancient minds. From this viewpoint, these are the fascinating, yet ultimately fictional adornments of cultures in their infancy, having no grounding in empirical reality or advanced application. But there is a compelling dissonance in this explanation. The level of intricate detail found in some of these ancient descriptions goes far beyond what one would expect from mere myth-making. The Vaimanika Shastra, for example, doesn't just mention flying chariots. It specifies the types of metals, the intricate machinery, the power sources, and even defensive mechanisms. It reads less like a poem and more like an engineering manual, albeit one written in a language and style of a bygone era. If these were simply allegories, why such practical minutiae? Furthermore, the astronomical alignments in sites like Stonehenge, the pyramids of Egypt, or the observatories of the Maya are too precise, too consistent, and too universally present across disparate cultures to be mere coincidence. They don't just track the sun's solstices. Some appear to encode knowledge of planetary cycles, stellar precession, and celestial mechanics that would require centuries of sophisticated observation, mathematics and record-keeping, challenging the notion of primitive understanding. And what of the pervasive global legends of free energy or etheric power, concepts that resonate strangely with some of the more radical proposals in modern physics? and appear in texts like the Pythagorean system or Hermetic principles, hinting at a different kind of understanding of the universe. These are not simply isolated anomalies, they represent a consistent pattern of advanced theoretical knowledge, often coupled with practical application, that our current historical timeline struggles to accommodate. Could it be that these ancient myths and cryptic texts are not simply products of imagination, but rather the distorted echoes of a lost scientific heritage? Some researchers believe these elaborate descriptions are direct remnants of a highly advanced, pre-cataclysmic civilization. They suggest that the Vimanas were indeed real flying craft, perhaps powered by a sophisticated understanding of electromagnetism, mercury vortex engines, or even anti-gravity principles, knowledge that was subsequently lost or deliberately concealed after a global disaster. The meticulous details within these ancient texts, some argue, are too specific, too functional to be purely symbolic. They hint at a once operational technology, now only remembered in fragmented narratives. Other theories delve into the possibility that certain individuals or secret societies managed to preserve fragments of this advanced knowledge, passing it down through generations in veiled forms, cloaked in allegory and symbolism to protect it from those who might misuse it, or from the ravages of time and societal collapse. Perhaps the detailed instructions in these ancient texts are not for us, but were written as a record for a time when humanity would once again be ready to comprehend and utilize such profound technologies. This idea suggests that the guardians of this lost knowledge deliberately encoded it within stories and architectural marvels, ensuring its survival even as its immediate understanding faded. What if the intricate astronomical alignments, often dismissed as primitive stargazing, are actually sophisticated cosmic calendars or even energy grid maps, designed to tap into or harmonize with telluric or celestial forces? Some propose that ancient structures like the pyramids were not merely tombs, but colossal power plants, resonance chambers, or communication devices whose true function derived from a forgotten science of free energy or acoustic levitation. The constant references to crystalline power, sonic frequencies, or the harnessing of invisible forces in various traditions might be more than metaphor. They could be a distorted memory of a time when humanity understood how to draw energy directly from the environment itself, or even manipulate matter at a fundamental level through sound or subtle energetic fields. Could the very design and placement of these monumental structures have been a key to unlocking capabilities we have yet to rediscover? Could it be that what we perceive as magic or divine intervention in ancient narratives was, in fact, advanced technology described by people who lacked the vocabulary or the conceptual framework to fully comprehend it? Imagine a primitive society encountering a helicopter. They might describe it as a flying beast, a god's chariot. What if our ancestors, after a catastrophic event, struggled to articulate the marvels of a former age, preserving them as best they could through stories that became myth and instructions that became ritual? The transition from technological understanding to mythological explanation could have been a desperate attempt to retain valuable information in the wake of societal collapse, a way to package complex scientific principles into more digestible, memorable forms for future generations who had lost the foundational knowledge. Perhaps the gods and demons of ancient lore were not supernatural beings, but powerful, technologically capable individuals, or even machines, whose capabilities far exceeded the comprehension of the survivors. This perspective challenges us to reconsider the very nature of ancient wisdom. It asks us to look beyond the surface of familiar tales and see them as potential repositories of forgotten scientific principles. If the detailed instructions for Vimanas were once practical blueprints, if the astronomical alignments encoded deep cosmic understanding, and if the legends of strange energy sources were reflections of a lost power generation system, then the implications are staggering. It suggests that our current trajectory of scientific discovery might not be a linear ascent, but rather a rediscovery, a slow unearthing of knowledge that was once commonplace. The ancient world, far from being primitive, could have been a custodian of advanced concepts, waiting for us to catch up to their forgotten wisdom. What if ancient mythology was simply their way of describing technologies they no longer fully comprehended? And if so, what other scientific secrets lie hidden, waiting to be deciphered, within the sacred texts and forgotten traditions of our enigmatic past? Our journey through the remnants of the past has shown us structures defying known engineering, artifacts that whisper of impossible knowledge, and submerged cities swallowed by forgotten cataclysms. We have explored ancient texts, seemingly describing technologies far beyond their supposed eras, challenging our understanding of what our ancestors knew. But if such an advanced civilization once existed, leaving behind these undeniable echoes of its brilliance, a profound question then arises, perhaps the most baffling of all. Why don't we remember? This is the great anomaly that truly haunts the historical record. How could an entire global civilization, one capable of such profound achievements, simply vanish from humanity's collective memory? It seems almost inconceivable that an entire epoch of sophisticated human endeavor could be so thoroughly erased, leaving us to piece together its existence from fragments and whispers. Yet here we are, sifting through the dust of ages, wondering why our history books begin with an emptiness where monumental knowledge should have been. The mainstream historical view offers a straightforward, albeit incomplete, explanation. It posits that no such global advanced civilization ever truly existed. Instead, the narrative suggests a linear progression, where early human societies, after emerging from the last ice age, slowly and painstakingly developed their technologies and knowledge. Any anomalies, like the Antikythera mechanism or the precise astronomical alignments of certain structures, are often attributed to isolated genius, unique cultural insights, or simply coincidences. Furthermore, the argument suggests that ancient times were characterized by limited record-keeping. Writing was a rare and specialized skill, materials perishable, and communication across vast distances rudimentary. Therefore, any knowledge that wasn't consistently documented and widely disseminated would naturally be lost to the mists of time, especially given the turbulent nature of early human history. But this explanation, while seemingly logical, faces a significant problem when confronted with the sheer volume and global distribution of the evidence we have encountered. If the cataclysms we discussed earlier were indeed global in scope, be they cosmic impacts, rapid ice melt, or devastating floods, then the number of survivors would have been drastically reduced. Imagine a world plunged into chaos, its infrastructure shattered, its populations decimated. For those few who remained, the immediate priority would not have been the preservation of advanced mathematics or intricate engineering principles. Their focus would have shifted entirely to basic survival, finding food, shelter, and safety in a transformed and often hostile world. In such a scenario, complex knowledge, no longer directly applicable to the raw struggle for existence, would quickly become a burden, an irrelevant luxury that could not feed a starving family or ward off a new predator. The very act of forgetting in this context might have been a survival mechanism, a necessary shedding of past complexities to adapt to a brutally simplified reality. Alternative theories attempt to fill this memory void, exploring possibilities that extend beyond mere historical attrition. Some researchers believe that the trauma of these global events was so immense, so utterly devastating to the human psyche, that a collective amnesia might have taken hold. A kind of planetary post-traumatic stress where the mind simply shut down from the overwhelming horror, pushing the memories of the preceding golden age into the subconscious, or perhaps even suppressing them for generations. Other perspectives suggest a more cyclical view of consciousness itself. Could it be that humanity, like the Earth it inhabits, undergoes periodic resets, not just of its physical environment but also of its collective awareness? Perhaps there are inherent cycles of awakening and forgetting where knowledge flares brightly only to dim into myth and legend before rekindling anew. Then there are those who speculate about the existence of hidden archives, repositories of this lost knowledge, perhaps buried deep beneath the earth or safeguarded by secret societies who have silently carried the flame of ancient wisdom through the dark ages. Others point to the relentless erosion of time itself, arguing that even the most robust evidence can be consumed by millennia of geological shifts, climatic changes and the ceaseless march of entropy, leaving behind only the most durable and often enigmatic fragments. So we are left with a profound question, one that reverberates through the very fabric of our understanding. Could the trauma have been so immense, or the cycle of amnesia so profound, that forgetting became not just an outcome, but an integral part of our historical journey, leaving us as inheritors of a world whose true past we are only just beginning to recall? Yet even a great forgetting cannot erase all traces. The very act of forgetting, as we explored, might have been a survival mechanism, a profound amnesia induced by trauma. But time, the great revealer, has a curious way of insisting on memory. The deeper we dig, the more intently we listen to the silent stones and submerged worlds, the clearer a new narrative begins to emerge from the shadows of history. Today, a quiet seismic shift is occurring in our understanding of the human story. Across disparate fields of study, from the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountain plateaus, from ancient texts to geological strata, a mosaic of anomalies is coalescing. It is no longer just an isolated, strange artifact or an impossibly ancient structure. It is the sheer volume, the unsettling consistency, and the global distribution of these inexplicable remnants that now demands our full attention. This growing chorus of evidence, from the meticulously crafted megaliths that defy known engineering to the sophisticated out-of-place artifacts speaking of forgotten sciences, from the geometric precision of submerged cities to the chilling tales of global cataclysms found in ancient lore, it's now forming a pattern too profound to ignore. It suggests a history far grander and perhaps far more cyclical than our current linear progression model allows. The established historical narrative, of course, remains the dominant framework. For generations, academic institutions and mainstream archaeologists have carefully constructed a timeline that charts humanity's slow, methodical climb from hunter-gatherer societies to the first complex civilizations, roughly 10 to 12,000 years ago after the last ice age. Within this view, the peculiar findings, the precise astronomical alignments preceding their supposed inventors, the intricate metallurgy found in impossibly old rock, the global maps charting lands supposedly unknown, are typically categorized as isolated puzzles. They are seen as the result of misinterpreted geological formations, as fortunate coincidences, or perhaps as rare bursts of isolated genius that died out without leaving a lasting legacy. These phenomena, though intriguing, are generally considered outliers on the periphery of an otherwise stable and well-understood chronology. However, something profound is changing. The isolated puzzles are beginning to connect, forming an intricate web that stretches across continents and spans forgotten epochs. The sheer weight of converging data from distant corners of the globe and across varied disciplines is becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss as mere isolated oddities. Modern scientific instruments, such as high-resolution LiDAR scans penetrating dense jungle canopies, advanced sonar mapping revealing intricate underwater structures, and sophisticated computational analysis deciphering ancient texts, are bringing new layers of data to light. These technologies are not only uncovering more anomalies, but are also revealing previously unseen connections and patterns between existing ones. The evidence is no longer a scattered collection of curiosities. It is a persistent, undeniable current that flows against the established tide, compelling a critical re-evaluation of humanity's entire past. As the volume of this compelling evidence grows, a new set of alternative theories begins to emerge, seeking to bridge the chasm between what we thought we knew and what the Earth itself seems to be telling us. Some researchers propose a more profound, almost spiritual interpretation, suggesting that humanity as a collective consciousness is entering a new phase of remembrance, an awakening to a forgotten truth etched into the very fabric of our planet. Could it be that our growing technological prowess is simply allowing us to physically uncover what has always been present in a deeper, archetypal memory? Theories also delve deeper into the cyclical nature of civilization. What if understanding these ancient remnants isn't just about discovering a single lost civilization, but about recognizing a recurring pattern of human achievement, a rise and fall that echoes through deep time, a rhythm perhaps tied to larger cosmic or geological cycles of which we are only now becoming dimly aware? It is speculated that this current epoch of discovery could be part of a global remembrance, a collective unfolding where the wisdom of the past is not merely recalled, but reintegrated into our present understanding. Perhaps the ultimate unveiling, then, is not merely the scientific affirmation of a forgotten golden age or a precursor civilization. The true discovery might lie in understanding humanity's cyclical journey of rises, falls, forgetting, and remembering. It is a profound insight, a mirror reflecting back at us the echoes of our own potential, our own fragility, and our own astonishing capacity for both innovation and amnesia. The wisdom for the future, the deepest lesson from our past, might be this: that civilization is not a linear ascent, but a grand, repeating drama. And in recognizing this, we may begin to understand our place in a much larger, more mysterious story, one that offers profound guidance for the choices we make today and the legacy we leave for tomorrow.